The dog days of summer, my friends. Appreciate you all for joining. It is in the middle of August, and it's time for some summertime nonsense. Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Anthony Corona, here on Speaking of the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And yeah, folks, like I said, summertime nonsense. The middle of August, not much going on. A couple little things to talk about. I'm going to turn it over to you guys and go diving in the comments, as scary as they may be, especially at this time of year. But we start off here, friends. We start off here. We are a month and a half away, almost exactly, from puck drop on the regular season. Devils opening up at home on October 1st. But before then, for the unofficial start of the season, Sunday, September 13th, at the Devils Practice Arena, the RWJ Barnabas Health Hockey House, Devils will be taking part in the first of two rookie games against the Islanders at 2 p.m. So that is what? About a month away, a little under a month away. Preseason kicks off with two rookie games, Sunday the 13th at the Devils practice facility. And then a couple days later, on Tuesday the 15th, another Devils Islanders rookie game. That one will be taking place at the Islanders practice facility, the Northwell Health Ice Center. And then the 4-game regular preseason slate kicks off Sunday the 20th at the Rock against the Isles. The next day, Monday the 21st, at the Rock against the Rangers. And then they close it out Thursday the 24th at the Garden against the Rangers, and Saturday the 26th against the Islanders. It is strange that it is all just Islanders and Rangers and there's no Flyers in here, but what are you going to do? The preseason's the preseason. Certainly will be an interesting one. I expect there to be some intense battles in camp for roster spots, excuse me, whether that's on the blue line or up front. As it stands now, the Devils seem to have several extra defensemen, some extra forwards. There's still plenty of time for some of these guys to be moved out, obviously, but as it stands right now, there's definitely some extraneous pieces, and it could lead to some intense battles for spots in training camp and the preseason. This is, at least for me, one of the most anticipated preseasons in years, because there's so much on the line. But there you have it. Two rookie games. We're under a month away from the first one, and then a month and a few days away from the regular preseason kicking off. I was trying to pull something up. I had a little technical difficulties here. I was trying to have a video that it wouldn't let me incorporate, but my apologies. But the news of the day, I mean, not that it's news, just again, this is summertime nonsense, so don't judge me, folks. I just wanted to see what you guys had to say. And like I said, I'm going to dive in the comments momentarily in the chat here and see what you guys are talking about. But the New Jersey Devils posted this earlier today, and without the Devils drawing attention to this, personally, I am not one for the celebrity stuff, so I would have never seen this. But apparently on Khloe Kardashian's Instagram, I believe, she posted a ton of photos, and one of them was her and her ultra famous sister Kim, one of them, arguably, I would say, one of the most famous people on the planet, on, it looks like a beach somewhere, and Kim is wearing a rather distressed New Jersey Devils hat. Now, when I saw this, when I first saw it, again, because now in the age that we live in with all the photoshops and the fake and the AI stuff, and now you don't know what, you could watch a video or see something and you're like, is this real? Is it not real? At first I thought it was like a joke and I was missing the inside joke. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. Am I missing something? But no, it was a real photo. I had to go kind of traipse around and find the photo, but this is in fact a real photo. So I'm super curious as to how she got this hat. I'm curious if this is one of those brands. Someone on X had tweeted to me that it came from some company. Let me see if I could find it here. I did a little research into the company. I couldn't find much. A brand called Basket Case Gallery. Actually, let me write this guy back. Couldn't really find anything on it, but super interesting. I have no idea. Is this one of those hats that was sold distressed. Did someone's pit bull gnaw on this? I have no idea, but one of the most famous people on the planet wearing a New Jersey Devils hat. I have questions. I'm super curious. Then people started making jokes about, oh yeah, she's dating Jack, all kinds of stupid jokes. Hopefully, that she stays content with, I assume, is her current boyfriend, F1 racer Lewis Hamilton. And hopefully she just stays with him and stays away from the New Jersey Devils, because it's been well documented that not just her, I think most of the Kardashians, or, that whole clan, with athletes, these guys' careers seem to go off a cliff after they get with these girls. So I don't know, but I will see if I could figure out, or maybe get some more information as to how that came about, because I have no idea, but I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued. Anytime you see New Jersey Devil stuff in pop culture, mainstream media of any kind, that's certainly an interesting one. Before I get to the Quinn, I don't want to spend too much time on Quinn. And for those that are going to be like, oh, you obsess over Quinn, like, I haven't done a live in a couple weeks, friends. Like, I'm not one of these people talking about this every day. And there is people doing that. In respect to them, I don't have the energy for it. And I think this has been dragged out and drawn out for entirely too long. But before I get to Quinn, I thought this was interesting. Let me get this off of here. This is courtesy of Big Mike Yegorov. Whoa, I'm hitting all these things here. Sorry, folks. We had a technical difficulty. I don't know why this is doing this. Okay, sorry about that. We had all kinds of problems here. Big Mike Yegorov on Instagram had a little Q&A. And someone had asked, how are you preparing for your next season with BU? And he writes a couple notes here, which I found to be super interesting. The first one he writes is, mental prep is the most important one. I want to take a step in this direction, so on-off ice focus on that is crucial for me. And then he says, however, my structure with training was, and then he breaks it down. For July, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, ice plus strength workout. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, bike endurance and sprints. So Big Mike is out here training, let's see here, 6 days a week, only taking off Sunday. He was off today, but there's his schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, ice and strength. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, bike endurance and sprints. And then he changes it up a little bit in August. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, ice plus conditioning strength workout. Wednesday, optional bike ride. Saturday, hard bike work with sprints and power work. And then he has a note, absolutely unrelated pick, by the way. Thought that was interesting. A little peek into the off-season training regimen of Big Mike Yegorov, a guy in the organization who could potentially be the next franchise guy. I mean, it's hard to say. Who will be playing at BU this season under Coach Jay Pandolfo, former New Jersey Devil, two-time Cup champ. And we'll see if he can take another step in his development. But I certainly believe he super strange. Appreciate you all. PSENG sucks. Had a power outage. Yeah, and it takes a while for my computer to boot back up. Anyway, as I was saying, we were talking about Big Mike and his regimen. I don't know. I lost track. It takes forever. I apologize, but thank you everyone who stayed on here. But now I'm all... Yeah, Quinn Hughes caused that. So on to the Quinn Hughes thing. It has been beaten to death. I haven't talked about it in almost 2 weeks. And the guy still does not have a contract extension. The flipped screen is freaking me out right now, by the way. I have no idea why that happened after the power outage. But anyway, you guys know that I firmly thought from a while ago he was going to re-sign or sign an extension, rather, with the Wild shortly after July 1st. That did not happen. Now we're in August 16th. And at this point, I can't help but wonder what is going on. At this point, I would say it's 50-50. I was like 99.8%, up until probably the middle of July, and then the percentage started to go down. I thought it was a foregone conclusion, and it turns out a lot of that could have been propaganda from, different media outlets and maybe people leaking purposeful misinformation, but there's nothing I could come up with that makes any sort of sense to me as to what the holdup would be if he in fact wanted to sign the extension there. I don't think it'd be money, even if he asked for something astronomical in terms of money. I think they would give it to him. So I just can't see what it is outside of him, sticking to what he had told the Canucks, which was that he wanted to play with his brothers. He told Jim Rutherford that. Rutherford told the world almost a year and a half ago now. It was, the end of the 24-25 season. It was like in the middle of April or so of 25. And so, he wanted to play with his brothers then. I'd imagine that desire had only increased during the Olympics, playing with Jack, winning the gold, all of that stuff. Now you've seen the photos and videos of him everywhere with his brothers this summer at the Jersey Shore. They were at the ESPYs. They were at World Cup games, at New York City after parties, all these things. And this could be his daily life, not just the summer. And so I don't know. When you look at the evidence here, the lack of an extension, all this other stuff, it really makes you wonder. Again, I'm not trying to get anybody gassed up or all riled up, but I'd have to believe it's like a 50-50 chance now if he signs the extension. I just cannot comprehend any logical reason for it not being done. And we'll see how it plays out. A lot of things kind of out there and people dissecting quotes and all this stuff. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty and pull up all these things, but in the end, there is no extension. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder if, is it possible that Quinn Hughes said, you know what, thanks for the opportunity, Billy, but you knew I wanted to play with my brothers and I still want to. So we are going to see. It's a very interesting situation. Obviously, Devils and Wild fans have continued to be at each other's throats on the internet over this topic. And we'll see. Joe Cade with the super. Thank you, sir. We're 2 weeks from September. Quinn ain't re-upping. Friedman's a parrot and Russo's a fanboy. They've both been exposed as arms of the wild. He's ours. We've talked about this. I do not put, in terms of the reporting on this, Russo and Elliot Friedman in the same bucket whatsoever. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, Russo's so unprofessional. Like, I'm not going to get on Mike Russo for this stuff. Is he possibly regurgitating information that's kind of misleading? Maybe unbeknownst to him, that's possible. And he kind of got dragged into a bunch of back and forth with some Devils fans. And then he put that poll about Devils fans that really riled people up. Like, I don't really care about any of this. I think it's all kind of summer nonsense, like the title of this live. A lot of summer nonsense. But I do think he has gone a little bit further with talking about, the Wild inquired on Jack and like kind of engaging in a little bit of the trolling versus Friedman just giving the information that he's been given. Elliot Friedman, the best in the game. So I definitely don't look at them necessarily the same way in this scenario, but they could only go off of what they were told, and they're probably getting bad information. JJ Dog, can someone explain why Min fans think they're getting Jack? They haven't even signed Quinn. I do think Quinn signs in Minnesota, but I don't see anyway. No, the Jack's not going anywhere. I mean, Sonny Maeda has basically all, straight up said it. And if you needed Sonny Maeda to confirm that, like, you're clueless as it is. I'd said forever ago that the New Jersey Devils wouldn't consider trading Jack Hughes, and that was before the Olympics. After the Olympics, he's become in a different stratosphere. In terms of marketability and all that, and aside from being a phenomenal player. So, I think that's more trolling on their part. If they actually believe the Wild have any chance of getting Jack Hughes, then they're just sadly mistaken. They have exactly 0% chance. It will not happen. Our Roma 3, I think Jack is really interested in those amazing learning centers in frigid temps that Minnesota is known for. Hence the Jack to Minnesota. Mechanicsville, what's up, Abe? What's going on, Mechanicsville? James, how you doing? Rumor has it Rutherford warned Billy G that Quinn wants to play with his brothers and will not sign an extension. Well, that was part of, when Quinn was being traded, the big thing that was out there was there is no guarantee of an extension. Anyone that trades for him is kind of gambling. And at the time, Billy Guerin obviously was aware of this, and he probably thought, maybe I can convince him to sign an extension. I don't think it's that crazy of a notion going into it that you could have a chance. would this be any different if the Wild like went to the conference finals or the cup finals? It's all possible. And it's all speculation. We have no way to know for sure, but I think Billy took a calculated gamble, and so we'll see. Mechanicsville says, "Who's the bombshell in the thumbnail? Are you serious? It's the Kardashians." Our Roma having better anything than Minnesota is not that hard to do. I did see the New York Post article about how NJ is one of the best places to live. That hurts a lot of narratives. I mean, again, having his two brothers means more than anything else, right? But then when you start looking at all the other stuff, you certainly could make the case, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on this either, but you could certainly make the case that even aside from his brothers being here, as a place to live, New Jersey is better than Minnesota. Again, that's a whole nother thing, but I think, a lot of people would agree with that thought. And then you add in the fact that both of his brothers play here. I mean, I don't even know what we're talking about. Mechanicsville, what is she doing with an NJ cap on? Is she dating a player? No, she's definitely not dating a player. I'm very curious as to how she got the hat. We'll see if I can find out any details on that. Super interesting stuff. But she's definitely not dating a player, and you guys should all hope that that does not happen, because well documented what happens with athletes and that family. Jeff Romano with a little August negativity. This is the same garbage lineup we suck with every year. LOL. We get manhandled and tossed around like middle school kids with the same roster and core every year. Certainly understand the disappointment and the sentiment. And while the roster is largely the same, I do think that the additions of Anthony Mantha and Evan Rodriguez, and even to some extent some of the more, the depth pieces, like the Boquists, Amadeus Lombardis, potentially some of the younger guys trying to crack the lineup, that with all of those changes, while it's not as drastic or as big of a change as many people were hoping for. I know a lot of you wanted the Jason Robertsons and get this guy and throw it to Matthew Nyes and throwing at all the big names. And I hate to be this guy, but it is a realistic point with a relatively healthy team, and that is largely contingent on Jack Hughes. If Jack Hughes stays relatively healthy and some of these things go in favor of the Devils with, Mantha working out, Rodriguez, and a couple other things, the team potentially could be much improved from last year, but a lot of things have to go their way. We will see. I know a lot of people still hoping to see some improvements. And while the offseason is not done, I do think the Devils are mostly done. But I have said before, that this whole Quinn Hughes saga could be holding up potential moves that Sonny Maeda might want to make should Quinn Hughes sign the extension. Now, if Quinn Hughes does sign the extension with the Wild, then that may put the Devils back into, wheeling and dealing mode. But as it stands right now, I do believe that until that extension is done, or not done, Sonny Maeda and the Devils are not going to do anything drastic, because should Quinn become available, he wants to have the assets and cap space to make a deal and not drop the ball like his predecessor, Tom Fitzgerald, when the call came. So I to some extent, I do think the Quinn thing could be holding up potential other moves, but we'll see, folks. We got about a month till preseason. Mechanicsville says, Jeff Romano, what Sonny has done in 5 months is night and day compared to what Fitz ever did. First move he made was fire Rogalski. We are on the right track. Listen, obviously you can't crown him or anything like that as of now, but you have to be enthused or inspired to some extent by what Sonny Maeda has done. I mean, he's a very good talker. And obviously the action, the talking has to translate into on-ice success, but he seems to say mostly the right things. He's very well spoken. He comes across as extremely intelligent, very educated, knows the game well, has a plan, is going to stick to it. And right away, even if you are one of these people that are kind of unimpressed or, not completely inspired by the changes he's made for the 26-27 season, you cannot argue that the depth is much better both up front and on defense than possibly in years. I mean, he's made a lot of these acquisitions of guys like Declan Chisholm, Lombardi, picked up Steve's. I mean, he's just made a bunch of moves where, he's talked about depth is very important. Organizational depth, wants to get Utica back on track. They've been an absolute train wreck for years. And so far, I think during his tenure here, he's been here for about 4 months. Mostly positive, very encouraging, but I know a lot of you are not going to be satisfied until you see a big move. But sometimes, drastic improvements can come with some of these deals that are maybe a little bit underwhelming at the time, if that makes sense. Robbie's bench toss, what's up? He says Russo is going to have to go dark on all platforms if Quinn doesn't resign at this point. The trolling, I will say, as a result of this Quinn Hughes saga, whether he gets dealt somewhere or he extends with the Wild, I do expect the aftermath to be some of the greatest pay-per-view trolling of all time, whether it's Devils fans trolling Wild or Wild trolling Devils. I obviously am not a part of this, but I do see bits and pieces of it here and there. People send me stuff and I randomly see it in my feed, and it certainly is going to be entertaining at the least. But speaking of Robbie's bench toss, from the museum department, for those that care about this sort of thing, from the historical museum department, it's hard to see with the lighting, folks, but this right here is a ticket from, I forget is it the 29th? January 29th, 2000, Devils at Joe Louis Arena taking on the Red Wings. Jay Pandolfo gets crushed from behind, goes face first into the dasher, blood everywhere. And this was the night of Robbie's famous bench toss, one of the more memorable regular season moments of my childhood, as crazy as it was, a regular season game. But for those that aren't familiar, look up Robbie Ftorek bench toss. R. Roma, unloading Markstrom and actually getting anything in return was the work of a magician. Sonny gets big points for that move alone. No, completely agree. I was a Marky guy, as most of you know. Obviously, I live in reality, and I was fully aware and admitting that he had a terrible season. He was playing through injury, not to make excuses for him, but I was optimistic that he was going to have somewhat of a bounce back year this year if he stayed with the Devils. He's probably going to have like a Vezina type year with Florida. I mean, that's just the way it works. But at $6 million, the contract that Fitz handed out that he was relentlessly destroyed for online, Sonny gets out of it and without retention, and brings back a piece he really wanted in Evan Rodriguez. And when I had my interview with Sonny Maeda, and if you haven't seen it, check it out on the channel. Did an interview with Sonny Maeda, I don't know, about a month or so ago, 3 weeks ago. We were talking about the Markstrom deal, and he made it a point to say that it wasn't necessarily about getting rid of Markstrom as much as it was bringing in Evan Rodriguez. And that's a guy, obviously, he's very familiar with. He was with him in Florida, and he identified him as a piece that he wanted for this New Jersey Devils team. And Markstrom, went the other way. Robbie's bench toss. We got 2 great depth forwards and no retention. Stellar low-key move from our poker champ. All right, let's see. Andrew Lucas says Quinn will be a Devil. All right, I'm going to catch up here. I'm trying to catch up. Stephen Engel, Ace, my man, please tell me why celebrities wear Devils gear sometimes, something the public isn't supposed to know about. I don't really know, outside of it is, I think objectively speaking, it is one of the better logos in pro sports. And I think it's popped up on these types of lists before. And so I'm not just saying that because I'm from New Jersey and whatever else. Like, it is a very clean, nice logo. And nowadays, a lot of people, whether that's the average Joe on the street or celebrities, often just kind of wear hats as part of outfits or whatever, and they have no allegiance to the team. I guess for other sports I could do that, but most of the hats I have are not sports hats, so it's hard for me. I'm very different in that way, but a lot of people just, it's part of the outfit. And we've seen it in the past with people of note, and sometimes even in, TV shows, movies, whatever it may be, where you do see a Devil's hat, a t-shirt, a jersey, or something being worn as part of a wardrobe. And it is a super clean logo. Super clean logo. Cross Turn 95. Hey, Ace, I know you've got tons of Devils memorabilia, but are you into hockey cards at all? Even if it's just Devils players? Interesting question. I will say Cross Turn, my childhood, before I became a diehard hockey fan. I was a huge NBA fan, both the Nets and the Michael Jordan era Chicago Bulls. And I started when I was a kid collecting mostly Michael Jordan cards. And then once I became in love with hockey, I switched focus to hockey cards. And when I was younger, I was very big into hockey cards. And then eventually I kind of graduated from hockey cards more into memorabilia, signed pucks, signed photos. Then I eventually got some sticks, and then that snowballed into jerseys and equipment. And so I kind of got out of the hockey cards. I still follow it a little bit, but I'll be honest, I haven't gotten any cards in forever and ever. I bought a little bit here and there for my little nephews. But for me, I just kind of left the cards in the past, and I'm more in the memorabilia museum curation lane. But if you're still here towards the end, I don't know when that will be, but if you're still here towards the end, I do have a box in my studio with some of my better cards from back in the day that maybe I'll show some. Maria, what's going on? We're becoming ridiculous, all this celeb BS. Devil's Den, my man Austin. When the off season is so dry, we turn to talking about the Kardashians. Dear God, help us all. Future Man 80, the new narrative from Russo that it's taking so long is because they are negotiating is nonsense. Whatever Quinn Hughes wants, Billy Guerin would give him. Unfortunately for Billy Guerin, Quinn Hughes wants to play with his brothers. I think that could be a very, very real assessment of the situation. And again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. At this point, I'm trying to tune it out. And like I said, I haven't talked about it in 2 weeks. But the fact that another 2 weeks now has gone by and it is August 16th, I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk about this. This is the saga of summer 26. This is absolutely the saga of summer 26, and it's got to be discussed at least a little bit. Miller Times says, I'm pretty sure Kim Kardashian is dating Jack Hughes. Definitely not. Matthew E., either Jack is dating Kim K or we hired Kanye West as an advisor to the GM role. Man, that guy. Talk about maybe they drove him crazy. We'll never know. But that family has a history of driving some dudes crazy, and he might be the latest on the list. Yeah, I got to call into Kim's people. I'll let you guys know. We're trying to get to the bottom of this Hap thing. Devil Heaven, what's going on? JJ Dog, when Quinn said he wouldn't forget what Billy gave up to get him, I took it as Quinn saying thanks, but no thanks. JJ Dog, thanks, but no thanks to what? Exactly. Future Man 80 says, I'm going to be insufferable with Wild fans if Quinn Hughes doesn't sign by the start of the season. I think you and many other people, it will be one of the greatest troll battles in NHL Twitter history. Dakota, I'm not a big fan of Russo, but I love how one of the questions on the Athletic survey was how obnoxious are Devils fans. I thought it was funny. I mean, some people took great offense to it. I thought it was all in good fun, but, that's the nature of these things. And like people have pointed out, it's a summertime nonsense. Dire Wolf, Ace, have you seen the reports about the Wings front office and what a disaster they have going on over there? Apparently, we got Mantha because they left him hanging, waiting on owner approval. So I did see that, and that is super interesting to me. It seemed like Yzerman and Illich, the owner, were not on the same page. There was a bunch of issues there, and then that story did come out that they were supposed to get Anthony Mantha, and it didn't move quick enough, and then the Devils swooped in. I mean, this could end up being one of those moves where you look back and say, it's a good thing that these teams all either dragged their feet too long or were reluctant to throw Mantha a contract offer for whatever reason, and he kind of just ends up in New Jersey. Certainly an interesting wrinkle, but Detroit certainly seems to be a mess a little bit at the moment, and I'm very curious to see what happens with the whole Dylan Larkin thing. All right, let me try to catch up here. So I can confirm PSCNG does suck. What's going on, Justin? How you doing, Jared? All right, let's see. Yeah, I mean, Singsy says he wants to win a cup with his brothers now, not in 3 years. It is true. Like, that initial report, he's going to extend for 3 years, which would, he still has this year upcoming on his contract. So that puts it at 4 years, and him and Jack could go to free agency together. But like, in terms of an NHL career, and especially when you're all in your prime or near it, like, why wait, right? That's the only thing. It's just like, why wait? So many things could happen, injuries, whatever else. And then not to mention, if either one of Jack or Quinn in this hypothetical world where Quinn extended for 3 years, it's the same thing with all these guys now. When they're eligible to get extended, the teams want to do it. And if they don't extend, they immediately become, assets that the team wants to trade to recoup something for. So then there's that whole element. So I don't know. Do I think that could be the case and they try to figure it out down the line? That absolutely could be. But like, why wait? It's right there for the taking now. And by now, I mean, at worst case, if Quinn wanted and he didn't sign an extension, at worst case and longest wait, it would be July 1st, 2027, when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. He could sign on the line, which is dotted on a contract from Sonny Maeda and the New Jersey Devils, unite with his brothers in New Jersey and hopefully push the Devils on some cup runs. So I don't know. It's all very interesting, but as time goes on, right now I'm at about 50-50. I think with each passing week that goes on, it's going to probably, I guess if we're talking about the percentage he does extend in Minnesota, I'm probably going to have it going down about 10% per week leading up to the season. So I'm at about 50-50 right now. In another week, it'll probably be about 40%. In another week there, I mean, yeah, I just think it's rapidly swinging as time goes on, that it's becoming less and less likely that he stays in Minnesota, but we'll see. Behind the scenes, they could be working on a couple small details and in no hurry to get it done, despite the public kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, outcry or buzz about it. They probably don't really care about that, but I'd have to imagine if you are a Wild fan, this is somewhat uneasy, despite many of them just incessantly kind of regurgitating the same kind of thing, like, oh, it's a done deal. But they've been saying that for months now. So I don't know. I don't know. Devil Evan says, Ace, great jersey, black and red. Let's go. Oh, if you haven't seen that on the channel as well, I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago, I did a little video talking about what I think the new Devils jersey will look like. And I showed a bunch of jerseys over the past bunch of years. So check that out if you haven't seen it. Robbie's bench toss. Does he respect Billy? Yes. Does he feel like he owes him? No. That's a fan narrative. If he re-signs in mini, it won't be because of that at all. I agree. I do think that he probably genuinely likes Billy Guerin and has a great relationship with him. That I definitely believe. But if he is going to extend there, it's going to be primarily because he is getting paid well to play there. He can tolerate or somewhat enjoys the area and believes the team has a chance to win. All of that matters more than anything else. Russo is doing Guerin's bidding. I don't know. It's possible. Let me put the fan on. I'm dying over here. Shout out to everybody. Dog days of summer. Had a rolling blackout over here. Lost the power, but we're back. Dakota says, most of us don't actually think we were getting Jack. It's just a fun hypothetical. I forgot Dakota. Dakota's a sensible Wild fan. I don't think it's going to happen. Anything can happen, but I don't think it is. Singsy says, Bill Guerin blew it. This will be his demise. Pure hubris. It could end up being his demise, but I think in a lot of instances in life, not just an NHL general manager, sometimes you have to swing big and take big chances. And Billy Guerin certainly took a big chance when he made the deal for Quinn, knowing that the extension was not a foregone conclusion and there was a possibility that he may be looking to move him at some point to recoup some assets. I mean, that's the chance you take. Robbie's bench toss says Larkin could get Quinn to stay for a little bit, but I don't see that happening with Detroit's current upheaval. Or Quinn and Larkin end up in New Jersey. Wouldn't that be something? Amy Adams says everything is weird right now. Quinn not resigning yet. The fake story about Jack and Tate breaking up. What's going on? I've seen some of that in the news too. I don't know if it's real or not. And quite frankly, I don't really care. I know that's, people like to follow all this stuff. I just think it's, I don't personally care who Jack is dating. I just want to see him perform on the ice. Tim Frith, Tim, will Yegorov back in his junior year at BU? We will find out. We will find out. I'm hoping to get to a BU game at some point this season. We'll see how that goes. But big year for Big Mike. Promising young goaltender in the organization. Lombardi might be sick. I think he's a guy that Sonny has high hopes for. We're going to see what he looks like in camp and preseason, but I do believe the Devils have probably at least penciled him in the opening night lineup, but we're going to see. Geese Feeder 14, do you think Quinn will get traded at the beginning of the season if he goes into game one of the regular season without a contract? That is the multi-million-dollar question, Geese Feeder, and I don't know. I guess it just depends on how, what is Billy G's appetite for gambling? Like, is it a situation where Quinn says, I'm still undecided heading into the season. Let's see how the season goes, and I'll consider it. Like, that could be a conversation behind closed doors, and then they may start the season without the extension, which I think is a huge gamble, obviously, for Billy G. If, should Quinn get hurt or something, you could find yourself in a situation where, you're losing Quinn for nothing, which would ultimately be pretty damning for any GM to kind of go down that road. But I don't know. I think it all depends on what the context of their private conversations are behind closed doors. But I do think it is a wild, that was a no pun intended, wild gamble to start the season with him without an extension. Conventional wisdom would tell you that if he's not going to sign the extension, you deal him beforehand. But this is a very special player, and the Wild may be holding out hope till the very end. So we're going to see, but it's certainly a very interesting scenario, and there's not really a comparable one. A lot of Wild fans have been like, oh, this happened with Kaprizov, and they're trying to compare it to other situations, but there's never been a situation where an elite player in this league was looking to play with two of his brothers that are currently on another team, and one of them being another NHL superstar in Jack Hughes. So it's very interesting. What's going on, Justin? Robbie's bench toss. Thank you, sir. What a piece. Matthew E., I do think the Hughes brothers will all play together soon, just not in New Jersey. They want to play for a more reputable organization like Rags or Red Wings. I don't really know where you got that from. The Rangers thing, I don't know. I think that's a stretch. I think that would be I don't even know how Devils fans as a whole would react to that, but I think this is just pure speculation. And I know that they have, the Michigan ties, but what is so appealing about the Red Wings? I mean, if you look at this Devils team, I'll be honest, despite the complaints and whatever else that many of you would have about the roster as of today, if you slap Quinn Hughes on this roster, the Devils would immediately become, well, let me just see what the odds are right now. The Devils Cup odds. I'm trying to see where they are right now. So the Devils are plus 2,700. So that's 27 to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, let me just pull this up. Actually, I'll show this graphic. Bear with me 1 second. I always find the Vegas odds stuff pretty interesting. And I think I haven't looked at it in a while. As we get closer to the season, I'll probably do a whole video on different bets, preseason bets, whether it's, player props, Devils to win the conference, all that stuff. But when we look at the Cup odds, so yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 teams. So the Devils would be the 11th most favored team to win the Cup, meaning 10 teams have lesser odds, which means, all the teams listed above the Devils here are quote unquote more likely to win the Cup. You have Canadian Stars, Wild, Lightning, Golden Knights, Caps, which is crazy. Oilers, Hurricanes, Avs, Panthers. as the favorite. Panthers the favorite right now, plus 650. If the Devils were to land Quinn Hughes, I firmly believe they would shoot up to no less than probably 5th on this list. Somewhere around 5 or 6, and the odds would probably cut in half or maybe even more. You see the Wild are at 1,400 right now. If the Devils got Quinn, I think their odds would probably go to somewhere around the plus 1,200 where the Caps and Golden Knights are. So it's just something interesting to think about how much better this team would be with Quinn Hughes. I mean, that's just the reality of it, but we'll see. We shall see. All right, let me get back over here. Maria says it's yay. Michael S., if Luke starts the season with a new number, Quinn is on his way. A lot of people have talked about this. If the Devils were to get Quinn Hughes, I think he would just use his Olympic number 6. I don't think he would make Luke change. But that's, who even cares about that? But I could see that being the case, but maybe Luke would be like, take your number. I don't know. I just feel like it would be. Did I say his Olympic number? I meant his. I think he wore that in the World Juniors. Maybe I forget. He wore 6 for USA. I think somewhere. But that'd be the least of their worries. Devil Evan Ace, what's your next live interview? If you mean like actually live, I'm not sure. I do like there is some benefits to recording prior, but in the next few weeks, there should be several guest video interviews coming out. Most of them probably will not be live, but that could change maybe. Jay Snow said, if Quinn doesn't sign by the beginning of the season, then I'll really believe Quinn's not signing. Well, what is your definition? I'm curious of beginning of the season. Are you talking training camp or like actual regular season? Titus Dream 12, I think it's health and Luke. If Quinn wants to compete and play with his brothers sooner than later, it's preferred based on risk. Luke is also signed for a long time and Quinn would be on the back 9. Yeah, I mean, if this is the move that they want to do and they really want to play together, obviously it makes the most sense to just, why wait? Do it now. NJDevs Parisi 9, what is up? Any word on the jerseys yet? The black one on the thumbnail is sweet. So that is the old school starter. And again, if you haven't seen the video, latest video on the channel, check it out. Talk a lot about jerseys from the past and talk about what I kind of expect for the new jersey, which is going to be the Fanatics hometown remix, as they call it. And that has to be coming out soon. I mean, we're getting closer and closer. Bear with me 1 second. But that should be coming soon. It always seems like the league is a little bit behind with these things, unfortunately. And I would predict that there's a good chance these things sell out and it's a whole, botched rollout like we saw with the Stadium Series jerseys, which, I mean, the Stadium Series jersey rollout was just crazy. Between not having enough of them, the jerseys that got shipped where it said Jack Hughes full name across the back, like that was just so ridiculous. I don't know how that gets, there must be no quality control to have a jersey with a guy's full name on the back and everyone be like, yeah, it looks good. You guys are talking about how you're going to watch the season. I'm a Verizon guy because I want the fastest feed. The streaming was too far behind and you guys ruined it for me in the chat sometimes. Matty Ice 30, everyone talks about this 3-year contract extension and matchup with Jack. There's 3 Hughes brothers, not 2. Jack and Quinn wouldn't leave Luke behind based on how close they are. So my only response to that would be, in that world, I do think they would be able to get Luke traded, but that just adds another step and another layer of complexity to a situation that, as it stands right now, would be very clear cut and straightforward. If you want to play with your brothers, you tell everybody, I'm not signing anything. I'm not extending. I'm going to free agency and obviously signing with the Devils, and we'll see. We will see. Jared says people thinking Hughes brothers are going to link up in Detroit are obviously not paying attention to that organization right now. We definitely have a better chance getting all three in New Jersey. Oh, I firmly agree with that. I mean, the outlook for the Devils is certainly much better than the Red Wings at the moment. And the biggest thing is 2 of the brothers are already here. Well, what are we talking about? Titus Dream, look at our team. We have 2 elite centers and an elite winger with grits on the rise. If you plug Quinn in for money, next line, ditch Dougie. That's a scary good team. Pretty good. Jay Snow, it would feel right just how Parisi left us for family. Quinn leaving Minnie for family would be great. Yeah, a lot of people drawing those parallels. That was a painful exit. Zach Parisi. I really thought for a time that he was going to be the next one, that he was going to be the next Jersey retired. And obviously, none of that came to fruition. NJDevs, Parisi 9. This reminds me of the whole Rantanen fiasco after the Avs traded him. Yeah, I mean, look how that worked out for the Avs. That was a crazy trade. He went to Carolina, and then he said he didn't want to stay in Carolina. I guess Carolina is the big winner in that whole thing, because then they traded him to Dallas and got Stankoven and whatever else. But some similarities there. He could be doing another pit stop somewhere else, but I do believe, if it comes down to it and Billy G is kind of put with his back to the wall and has to make a move, I do think, obviously, for obvious reasons, he would have the most value to the Devils because that extension is implied. Titus Dream says Salayev, 2 firsts, and Mercer. That's all I would send. Oof. What I will say is, in a vacuum, is Quinn worth that return? I would say 100% yes. But the thing where I think it would get tricky for the Devils is the 1 extra year of Quinn worth that? And I think that's where I could see Sonny Maeda possibly playing hardball, because at that point, if Bill Guerin calls and is offering Quinn, that clearly means if you wait, you're getting him for nothing. Now, and I've talked about this a million times, there is extreme value in getting him sooner than later. Every season is precious. The team should fully be in win now mode. There's been seasons of this core pissed away. I've talked about this forever and ever. So there is certainly tremendous value in getting Quinn as soon as possible. But I think the thing that Sonny Maeda may have a difficult time with is dealing something along these lines. And we're just for the sake of this exercise, I'll just use what you put on the screen here, Titus. Salayev, 2 firsts, and Mercer. That is kind of a lot, in my opinion, for 1 extra year. If you're getting him for free in July, would I say it's terrible for the Devils to make this deal if it was on the table? I wouldn't say it's terrible, but I would also say I would like to maybe know some more information before I could give a concrete answer. Because if you do anticipate getting Quinn for free, what other moves then could you make with these types of pieces? It's all a very interesting puzzle. Jared says, do you think Hami Naho gets another look? I thought he played well last season, and the time he got, plays hard and is pretty defensively responsible. Yeah, I think Lenny has a ton of potential. I just think right now, going into this season, there is a lot of guys that are going to be battling for bottom 6 spots. And so I could see a world where he starts in Utica for sure. There's intense, there's going to be some real intense battles for some of those bottom 6 spots. And who knows? I think a lot is going to depend on how guys look in camp and in the preseason games. It's going to matter a lot. And Hami Naho is one of those guys that's probably kind of right on the fence. Jason Snow said, I'm not buying into the offseason odds or hype with the Devils this year. They need to have a huge prove-it year. No, I'm completely with you. After the past few seasons, it's like, can you guys turn the corner? Can you find that next level? And we're gonna see. Guys are gonna have to dig deep. Jason says training camp. If he's not signed by then, the media is going to be nuts. Yeah, I mean that's not to discredit the media circus that this would become if he doesn't have the contract, which I think it would be on top of obviously risking the injury and everything else I just said. In terms of going into the season without the extension in place, I think would be a massive distraction. I mean, you see what a media frenzy it's become right now. If the season starts and there's no extension in place, it's going to be all you hear about even more. Matthew E says, Ace, if Devils miss playoffs again this year, do we actually start to worry about Jack's future? His future in terms of what? I mean, I will say if the Devils miss the playoffs this year, then there would have to be a ton of very hard and uncomfortable situations behind closed doors. Because at that point, and again, I hate to make excuses. If there's not tremendous games lost to injury, because if that does happen, then I think a lot of people would once again, whether justifiably or not, kind of justify or use the injuries as an explanation for the poor performance in the event of a missed playoff. But I certainly think, regardless of how it happened, if they miss the playoffs this year, then you really have to take a really hard look and make some really hard decisions, because at that point, how many seasons can you keep doing the same thing? And the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Like at that point, you would have to do something. But let me see something here. I'm just scrolling. Jer Bear 007. I still think Quinn is staying in Minnesota. He and Billy G are on good terms, and I'm thinking Quinn would have told Bill G by now he's not staying. No, I believe they're on good terms, but if you want to play with your brothers and you're determined to do that, being on good standing with Billy Guerin at that point wouldn't mean much. And I will say, we don't know, but there is a chance that he has informed Billy Guerin that he's not staying, and Billy G's trying to figure out how to navigate the situation. I mean, that is a realistic possibility. We just don't know. But follow me on X, friends. I will drop the link in the chat. I believe it's pinned as well. But follow me on X, getting more involved on there. And then obviously I follow that up with the follow me on the Instagram. During the season, especially, I will be ramping up posting on both of those social platforms as well. So follow me on the X, Twitter, that's on the screen now. Follow me on the gram. Both of the links are in the chat. Thank you very much. Hoping for a good New Jersey Devils season to be reporting for all of you fine Devils fans. Let me see what we got here. Sonny doesn't have allegiance to these players and has a lot of draft capital. Yeah, I mean, not having allegiance to the players is a positive thing, right? A lot of people had speculated in the past that, Fitz couldn't move off some of these guys. I mean, even if he wanted to, he couldn't because of the trade protection, but he may have felt some sort of attachment or, allegiance to some of the players, and that may have been prohibitive in him making moves that were for the betterment of the team. We will see. But new sheriff in town. Jason says, we fell apart after Parisi, then losing Covey. We've sucked ever since. That 2012 Cup run was pretty nice. Was a nice run, and then it all just fell apart. Devil Evan says, Dougie takes us to the Cup among many. Time is due. I've defended Dougie forever. I got the scars to prove it. Jared Barnes, yo, Ace, I meant to ask, since my buddy and I guess I are coming all the way from Kentucky for the season opener, if we bump into you, could we snag a pic together? It'd be cool to meet you either way. Yeah, absolutely, man. Just email me or message me on one of the platforms or whatever. I'll be there. Let me know. This guy, yeah, definitely no charge for sure. K-Rad says, I wouldn't give up Salayev. Yeah, I mean, listen, monsters on the blue line, monsters anywhere, right? And I had this conversation with Mike Rupp, and another shameless plug. If you haven't seen that interview, one of my favorites in quite some time, talked in depth with Mike Rupp about a week ago. Check that out on the channel if you haven't seen it. But we were just talking about kind of the physical build of players in today's NHL in general, and you just don't see as many monsters as you did back in the day. And Salayev could fit the bill. Now, what does he become? You know, does he live up to his 10th overall draft status, first rounder? I don't know. But what is he listed at? He's a big boy. He's probably still growing, and he could be a scary, scary man on the blue line for the New Jersey Devils for years to come. He's only 20. He's only 20. Yeah, 20 years old, 6'7", 211. I mean, yeah, realistically, if I'm the GM of the Devils, I'm not eager to give him up whatsoever either, unless it's in a monster deal. And I'm very intrigued to see what he looks like in training camp. I think he's a guy that could be a dark horse. There is so many extra pieces on the blue line. I don't know, but maybe, you know, he really just opened some eyes during camp. I still think he's going to start in Utica firmly, but I don't think it's impossible for him to find his way on the roster maybe at some point this season with either injuries or maybe guys struggling. I don't know, but he could maybe make a veteran somewhat extraneous and potential trade bait. I thought we may see that before training camp starts, but we'll see. I mean, that's what Devil Heaven goes right into. What is our next D player to go? I don't really know, but when you look at the guys under contract, it certainly seems like there's some guys that could be expendable. Andrew Lucas says Brat Hamilton and number 1 for Quinn. Brat would not be involved. Sonny is keeping this core intact for now. Yeah, Jason says I wouldn't send any core players to Mini. Devils would be in the driver's seat. I completely agree. In terms of roster players, you know, if I'm just going to play this fun game for a minute, if the Devils were to make a move, for Quinn now in this hypothetical world, if that became a thing, I think the only roster players of substance that would be considered by Sonny, at least on his end, I'm not saying the Wild would be interested, but in terms of, you know, from the Devils' perspective, I would have to imagine it would be Dougie Hamilton and Dawson Mercer would be two guys that they could live with parting with in a potential deal. Dire Wolf says, can Minnie really afford to go in the season with no extension? If Quinn has a season-ending injury, everyone gets fired. Well, I said that a few minutes ago. It's a monster gamble, but I could see Billy G possibly doing it, at least for a time. It all depends, I think, on what Quinn is telling him behind closed doors. Again, Quinn might say, listen, I'm not sold. I'm not definitely out, but I want to see how some of the season goes before I decide. Then I think Billy may roll the dice. But it's definitely a gamble. Legend Killer 97 says, what day does training camp start? So we don't know exactly yet, but when you look at the preseason schedule, the rookie games are the 13th. So I'd imagine the rookies are going to report at least a couple days before that first game. And the vets would have to report at least a few days before the first regular season game, which is the 20th. So, yeah, I would imagine the vets are going to report maybe the 16th, 17th, maybe 18th, somewhere in that window. And that would be for the vets. But the rookies will be there before that first game on the 13th. Devil Heaven says, Ace, will we see the jersey this year and when? Yeah, they're going to have to show it by the start of the season. I don't know if they're going to leak them out like one at a time, if there's going to be a monster reveal. That hasn't been established yet, so we don't know. We're all just waiting. I feel like it could just come out of nowhere. Or, I don't know, they might try to milk it, and they might make an announcement like, oh, you know, in the next couple weeks, like, oh, on September or whatever, we're going to do the hometown remix jersey reveals. Massive sale on NHL Shop. I'll have to check it out. Joe Cade, all players have a shelf life. No matter how great, this core needs to do something and fast. Completely agree. I made the video before last season on my old channel. Many of you remember. I entitled it "The Last Dance" because I thought last year could have been the last dance for this core as it was assembled to kind of take that next step before management had to kind of decide on possibly breaking them up. The whole thing happened with Fitz, the injuries, all that, and here we are. And I firmly believe this season very well could be the real last dance, but we will see. Carson, what's up? Well. Hello, Ace. How you doing? How you doing, Carson? I'm sure you're just enjoying your Stanley Cup victory summer. Jason, no, I'm still worried about the lack of sandpaper on this team. Yeah, I mean, Erod will bring a little bit, but you just need guys to, again, if you watch the Rupp interview, it's not only just being like physically and crushing guys, but it's a bit of a mentality as well. Like, be hard on pucks, play, go hard to the corners, fight to get the puck back. All these different things can be not necessarily taught, but improved upon. Like, can the average compete level of these guys like get to the next level? And I think it could. And I think, a guy like Rodriguez and the Connor Browns of the world got to really drill it into the younger guys. Like, it's time to step up. Jason, we have grit in our back end, but we don't have it up front. I mean, there's not even a ton on the back end. Dilly and Kovacevic. Jason says Salive can take over Dylan's spot next year. Matt W. might sound crazy, but if Quinn for sure wants out, the more you think about it, Quinn for Dougie makes sense. Rather than losing him for nothing, Dougie fills his spot and gives them 2 years at good term. Oh, Matt, you're crazy, bro. They would still get, even for the 1 year, they would get way more than Dougie. And I don't even know if they would want Dougie. That's a whole separate issue. Maybe they would, but if they did, it certainly wouldn't be straight up. Another contending team would, I think, easily beat that deal, even for a known 1 year rental. A team that thought they were close, I think, would really there'd be a limit to it, but I think they would pay more than people realize to add Quinn and really try to make a run. Bobby, thank you for the super sir. What's up, Ace? Just turning on YouTube, didn't notify me. Come to the game 10-17. Chicken tendies and drinks on me. Also, if we get Quinn, he's power play 1 and Dougie's power play 2. Luke rides the pine. I always forget. Is that 10-17 game the Caps? That is. There's a good chance I'll go to that one at Washington. I also believe if the Devils got Quinn, there's probably a good chance that Dougie wouldn't be around for long. But man, I mean, again, these are options you would have, right? Talk about a stacked team. With Quinn Hughes, you have the option of Quinn on power play 1, and then you have the option of Dougie or Luke Hughes or some combination of both of them taking turns on power play 2. What a position to be in. Teams would kill for that luxury. Someone asked about movies earlier in here. Does anyone have any good movie recommendations? I'm curious. I lost my spot in the chat. Any 24 stadium jerseys out there? If you look, you could find them. There's stadium series jerseys out there. Oh, I missed a couple here. Jason, are the Devils going to extend Mercer if they don't move him this year? He's due for a contract next year. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Again, I just talked about him before. If there was hypothetically a deal with the Wild for Quinn sooner than later, I would imagine he would be a guy of interest to the Wild. But yeah, I mean, his future certainly is uncertain. On the last year of his deal, making $4 million, a guy that started off really hot last year in the top 6. I think he had like 15 points to the first 12 games. He was playing wing. He was looking good. I thought there was a chance that he was going to really blossom into that legitimate top 6 guy that so many people were waiting to see if he could become. And then all the injuries happened. He got put at center, and then he kind of never found his groove like he had early on in the season. And it is what it is. Again, you guys know I've defended Mercer forever. I think he is a fine bottom 6 player. Iron Man, plays every game, doesn't get injured. You could put him out there in all scenarios. A true Swiss jackknife in every sense of the word. Dawson Mercer, maybe the consummate Swiss jackknife, but does he fit into the team's long-term plans with the cap and what he would likely be looking for in a contract? I don't know. And that's why I think he would have a good amount of value to a lot of teams, and even more so if they were convinced he could be a legitimate center for them. These are all, interesting things to follow in terms of the future of Dawson Mercer. Jason, no, the Devils aren't heavy on pucks. We're terrible at ozone possession. We're not a heavy forechecking team either. Yeah, all things that could be improved upon. Will they step up? Will they, as a team, just develop a little more of that inner dog? Matty Ice, how soon would Keith be fired if we start out slow? Is he on a very short leash and Sonny wasn't here when he was hired? A lot of people are speculating this. I mean, what would slow be? Are you talking like, is like 500 slow in your world for this? Or are you talking like well below 500? I've defended Keith as well. I feel like he was forced to make miracles with less than ideal NHL lineups fairly regularly and kept them competitive. I mean, if you look at some of those rosters, I don't want to trash guys, but he was, how many games did Dowling play? I mean, now he has a general manager who's going to be more proactive to give him some help when the times arise. Jay Snow, who on this team plays like a dog on pucks? Hopefully they develop a little bit more of that, man. We've talked about this forever. Titus Dream, I think Kovacevic comes out balling this year. He's a calendar past the recovery from major knee surgery. Those take time to recoup and get back a comfort level. That would be nice. And another guy that some people were burying, he was out for a long time, like you said, had that major surgery. What does he look like this year? He brings the snarl. I like his game. A lot of people still talk about, that was a bad Fitz contract. Like, I'm pretty sure, I think he's making $4 million. Like, if he gets anywhere near what he looked like before he got hurt, I mean, that's a bargain, honestly. In today's cap climate, you see what these contracts are. Satire Salesman 6545. How do you feel about where the Devils roster, or how do you feel about where the Devils roster as it stands? Do you feel they could break into the top 3 of the Metro next season? I absolutely think they could. Obviously a lot of question marks, but if a few things go their way, one of the biggest question marks is, I would say the gamble or somewhat a measured gamble that Sonny Maeda is taking in net with the trio at the moment of Nico Dawes, Jake Allen, David Rittich. If that trio, however you slice it up, can give the Devils just like league average goaltending, I think that's a win in that department. And then you just need to stay healthy, obviously, the same thing we talk about every year, specifically Jack Hughes. And then if some of these other things kind of go the Devils' way, I think they could easily be in the top 3 in the division. You need, a lot of people have talked about this, Luke Hughes really needs to take that next step. Hopefully with Pesce being back, he's a little more comfortable playing with Pesce, the safety valve, and allows him to maybe play a little bit more loose. The next step from Luke Hughes would be huge. Mantha and Rodriguez kind of panning out to fill the roles they were brought in to fill. A big bounce back from Timo Meier would certainly be nice. I don't know. Again, a lot of you like to rag on him as well. Without power play one time, he's not going to put up the numbers you guys are expecting. But I do think he could have a nice bounce back year. And if even half of these things kind of pan out, it could be interesting. Jack Hughes could go nuclear. Jason Oates, I think I see 5 Atlantic teams making the playoffs. Yeah, the Atlantic is no joke, man. No joke. Justin Smith, who would you like to see the Devils get for Hamilton? I think Sonny Maeda is high on Dougie Hamilton. I don't think you're going to see him dealt, outside of the Quinn Hughes thing. I don't see why, after what we've heard anyway. And again, it could all just be misdirection. I don't think it is. I do think Dougie is going to be here this season. And, if the Quinn thing comes to fruition, that could change. But Dougie, I think, has value to the Devils, and I think he has value to any team who's truly looking to contend. I think he's a win-now player. Satire Salesman, Tombstone is a great film. I somehow missed out on it till 24. Any Robin Williams movie or John Candy movie is worth watching. I agree. Bobby, you think it's safer to get a Grits jersey when the new one comes out over a Mercer? I already have, that's a nice collection of jerseys. I already have a Jack, Nico, Timo ×2, Dougie, and Nemo. Or should I get Brat over Grits? Well, certainly without the extension in place, Mercer's a high risk one. I would put Mercer in a high risk category in terms of ordering a jersey. Grits, I think, is fairly safe. And I wouldn't be able to, Brat and Grits, that would be a personal decision. But I think Grits would be a solid one. Devil Heaven says Kiefer is fine. Andrew Luke, I love how everyone is thinking that Mercer is going to bring back a guy like Quinn Hughes. Oh, definitely not straight up. I was talking about in a package. I don't know. Did I miss in the chat? I don't think anyone thinks that Mercer is going to bring back Quinn Hughes. I was talking about potentially, in a package deal with other assets, whether they're prospects, picks, or whatever. But yeah, no, you're not getting Quinn Hughes from Mercer straight up. Obviously. Carson, as I have my top 3 in the Metro, his Carolina Hurricanes at 111, the Caps at 102, and the Devils at 98. Interesting. I think if I had to pick as of today, I might pick the same 3, but who knows what you're going to get with Pittsburgh. I mean, the Flyers could be in there. I mean, the East is tough. It's tough. Titus Dream says 98 is underrating the Devils. We had 24 months of injuries. We were keeping pace for tops in the league when everyone is available. Ooh, Titus Dream getting a little salty here. All right, I got to use the bathroom. I'll be back in 1 second. Let me pop this up on here. Preseason schedule. We're getting close, kids. I'll be back in 1 minute. Back in a minute. All right, we're back. What else do you guys got? Why aren't the Devils playing the Prospects Challenge this year? I don't know if that's official yet, but it certainly seems like that's the case. And I think that's probably why they scheduled the 2 rookie games, the Islanders. I don't know. They're probably trying to cut down on travel, and logistically, it's probably easier just to have the home and home rookie games with the Islanders. I'm not really sure, but it seems like that's what's happening. Justin Smith, baseball is going to lock out next year. I've heard that from a lot of people. As many of you know, when it comes to baseball, I'm sleeping. I just can't get with it. Carr Kane's goaltending is a big question mark for the Devils, in my opinion. I think it's a big question mark for most. Nico Dawes is going to have that runway to really stake his claim, and we'll see what he could do with it. He's shown promise in small batches, but we will see what he can do this year. And I think he obviously has the best opportunity he's had in his career yet. Bobby says, "Call me crazy, but I think the Devils break 112. Oh boy, and the Devils and Canes finish top 5 in the league." Bobby with some high hopes. You're calling for a franchise record-setting season, eclipsing the 112 points from that storybook. Well, I guess not really storybook, but somewhat storybook, I guess, considering the last 15 years overall. 22-23 season, which saw the New Jersey Devils set a new franchise record with 112 points in the regular season and a glorious 7-game series win over their arch rivals, the New York Rangers, in the first round of the playoffs. But we'll see. Snow seems shocked. 112 with the roster as is. K-Rads is on board. He said, "I could see it, Bobby." Buttis moves is bring back Markstrom. That certainly is not happening. Titus Dream, Keith pulled a jackless Devils to the playoffs 2 seasons ago, and last year our team was so banged up by December, We have better bottom six now as well, plus no Markstrom giving up 3+ goals a game. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but while Markstrom was not good last year, he was hardly the problem, in my opinion. I've said it time and time again. The Devils could not score goals. Yes. Did Markey have some bad games? Yeah. Did he have a rough season? Absolutely. But the team could not score regularly once Jack went down. And in the end, that Islander game was a shining example of it, where he was Markey was left out there for the 9-piece, the 9-0 drubbing on Long Island. And some of you, I think, were there. It's super unfortunate. But, whether you lost 9-0, 7-0, 3-0, it doesn't matter. The Devils scored 0 goals. And so they have to get better in that department. They have to find ways to put the puck in the net, and they can't rely only on the power play. They got to get better at 5-on-5 scoring as well. Carson says 112 was bold, but that happened in 2023, so we will see. That would be something. A franchise record-setting season would certainly be something. We got K-Rads. Thank you for the super. Thanks for these chats. Good times, man. Yeah, I try to come on here. It's been a little bit. Not much going on. That's why I called it nonsense. We're talking about all kinds of random things. I enjoy chatting with all of you, and whatever stuff you guys throw out in the chat's always a good time. Jay Snow, they would have to stay healthy and everyone plays up to their standards. Yeah, absolutely. But those things could happen. Obviously, again, the health is huge. If Jack plays even 75 games and just misses a few here and there, I think a 75 game plus Jack clearly clears the 100-point benchmark. And it's crazy to think that this still, after 40 some odd years of existence, the New Jersey Devils still have never had a 100-point scorer. A bit crazy. And Jack currently has the record with the 99 he had in that 22-23 season. I do look for him to have a monster season this year. Jason says Timo and Brat need to bury pucks this year. Everyone needs to bury pucks. Everybody needs to step their game up. Buttis Move says no saving Jack for the Olympics. Markstrom in, I don't know what that is, running with on speaking of, this was going to be the winning formula. I'm very confused as to what that all meant. But Justin Smith, Timo couldn't score a goal if he had to shoot the puck in the ocean. He would miss the ocean by a mile. Come on, Justin. Oh, the chat just popped up. You guys just exploded a little bit. Jason, I wonder if we get any PTOs. We already have a lot of players. I think it's possible. It's always good to have competition in camp and have guys brought in to push guys. Like you said, we do have, an abundance of players right now, but in terms of camp, I would say the more the merrier. If there's any guys out there that could help, I mean, it doesn't hurt bringing anyone in on a PTO. Patterson Plank Road, what's going on? Good evening. The Devils' defensive system is in need of an adjustment. Too often, all 5 guys are below the tops of the circles, leaving the points open. The forwards must cover the defensemen. Okay. Matty Ice, we got goalied so many times last year, it can't happen again, right? I hate that goalied term. I think it is overused. I do think on some nights they were, but on some nights they just didn't play up to the level they needed to. But you'd like to hope that the Devils have a little bit more puck luck this year than they have in the past. I mean, there was stretches in the past couple seasons where Timo just seemed so snake bitten. You were like, oh my God, this guy just is super unlucky and cannot find a way to bury them despite getting all the chances in the world. And you'd like to hope that, that goes a little bit better for them this year, that they don't seem to go through those stretches where some of the big dogs are going pointless or goalless for long stretches. Jay Snow, we need to be able to start scoring those greasy goals. Completely agree. You need the greasy ones. Bobby says, okay, this is a major hypothetical, but if it was a possibility, would you give up Yegorov, Mercer, and First for Otter or Swayman? No. For me personally, I would not. I think Big Mike really does have potential. In terms of as many of you know, I don't truly value first-round picks as much as many other people do. I value them in terms of, trading them for win-now pieces. More specifically with where the Devils are now, like they have to start doing something nearly immediately. But In terms of Sonny Maeda, I think it's pretty clear that he does not put a strong, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He doesn't, I don't think he would want to either allocate such a sizable chunk of the cap to a goaltender. And I don't know that he would want to use several premium trade pieces or assets in a deal to get a goaltender. I think he is at the moment content with the three guys they're rolling into the season with. And if it plays out, I mean, it would be a very nice winning bet. You know, Nico Dawes, Jake Allen, and Riddick are signed for $3.9 million total, which is crazy to think about. Red says it's fun. Nonsense and whimsy is the best when nothing is going on, and even when there is. Yeah, hopefully there's some more stuff to talk about, but I mean, we're under a month away from those rookie games, and so there'll be some meaningful conversations to be had. Obviously, if you are not subscribed to NJ.com, subscribe to NJ.com. Speaking of the Devils, brought to you by NJ.com. Going to be tons of great articles and stories on there throughout the season. So make sure you sign up for that and keep it locked here. If you're not subscribed to this channel, obviously subscribe, put on the notifications, all that great stuff. Andrew says, I'd be happy with 66 games from Jack. That's interesting. I think that's a pretty, I mean, that'd be missing 18 games. I keep forgetting the 80. It's going to take me a very long time to the 84 games to register because 82 games has been ingrained in my mind my whole life. That 84 is still messing me up. But yeah, I mean, if he misses 18, that's a pretty sizable chunk of the season. Andrew Lucas says, no matter what happens, I can't wait for the start of the season. I think most people here are on that same page with you, Andrew. Patterson Plank Road says, NHL Network is actually showing that 9-0 disaster right now. That is crazy. Who would even want to watch that? I mean, I guess Islanders fans would, but what a terrible game. Jason said, I hate the goalie excuse with the Devils is just bad offense. Justin Smith with a bold one. Jack Hughes plays all 84 games this year. That'd be something. Titus Dream 12. Bratt had an inconsistent season for the first time in 4 years. I expect him to get back on track. It'd be nice to see Jesper Bratt pick it back up a little bit. I mean, he finished with 70-something points last year, which when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's not terrible. But, you know, while it was happening, it felt much more underwhelming than what the numbers finished at, in my opinion. Alexander Price says, I need Nico to do better this year. I mean, listen, if you're talking about offensive production, keep in mind that Nico is given the tough matchups night in and night out. So he's also putting in that defensive work. K-Rad says Timo adds a lot. It just doesn't always get noticed. Just my opinion. I agree with that. But the Timo detractors are extremely loud, I would say. Jason, Timo is a bull. He's got to be more consistent. He's got to get to the hard areas. Titus Dream, Pesci was injured. Luke missed camp and got injured. Nemo was asked to play above where he is currently. Kovacevic was coming off ACL surgery. Dylan was all over the place. Our defense was banged up. The whole team was banged up. But that's kind of been the story of the past, few seasons overall. These guys need to stay healthy and they need to stay on the ice. And if that can happen, that's a huge boost in and of itself, aside from the guys that Sonny Maeda brought in. Justin says Dawes loses the starting job by December, ? Well, first you would have to claim it, but if I had to bet today, I do think that Dawes will claim that starting job. Snow says Yegorov, Mercer, and a first for Swayman. I'd do it. Matthew E96. If Keefe doesn't work out, you think we go after Torts? I've talked about Torts forever. I don't know how. I have no idea how Sonny looks at all of this stuff. I've said for a long time around here that I respect Torts and think he could be the right guy for the job in that scenario. But I do think Keefe is going to work out. And I think most importantly, his boss, Sonny Maeda, is not going to sit on his hands if there's obvious problems with the roster. Joseph Castner, personally, early this season, Nason and Timo agreed on the power play and tipping the puck in the net and getting down low and tapping them in. So if he really takes that role, he may be valuable. Is that you're talking about Timo there? It's going to be interesting what happens with Nason too. Another guy just with unfortunate health issues. Titus Dream, Timo consistently goes to the blender, absorbing hits and playing physical. We don't have a lot of that. He is needed. I've said that forever. For the people that hate on him, the only real bull in the top 6. And when he's on his game, he could be a menace. I mean, just think back to that Rangers series. He didn't register a point, but his fingerprints were all over the series. He was smashing guys. He was in Shesterkin's face. Jason says, I really want more of what Timo can bring. He's our only forward who can play heavy. Robert Isaacson, just keep in mind, Devils allowed 2 less goals than the Canadians, but scored 53 less goals than the Habs. The team has to score more. My number one issue of last season, if someone had to say, what went wrong for the Devils last year, aside from the obvious injury one that we're all tired of talking about, the number one thing for me would be inability to score regularly, period. They just could not finish at a good enough clip. And the season showed that. Andrew says 66 is still better than missing half the season. Well, that's for sure. Jason, the D-core is a problem outside of Luke and Dougie. There's no puck movers in the back end. Too many times the D-core can't get pucks out of the zone with their skating or their passing. And maybe Chisholm is a guy that could help in that area. Oh, we got some bold predictions. K-Rad says Jack nets 50 and ends with 130 points. Whew. Bold prediction for sure. But hey, if I could get him to 100 goals playing NHL 26, there's no reason he can't do it in real life, right? I mean, 50 goals and 130 points from Jack, I would have to believe would have the New Jersey Devils firmly in a playoff spot. At that point, it may even be in contention for the division title. And I think those numbers would firmly put Jack Hughes in the Hart conversation as most valuable player in the league. Bobby says Devils Habs game from November was on MSG last night. Timo scores the tying goal in the final minute. At that point, Timo had 7 goals and was number 2 on the team. Then he got snake bit, but he was hot to start. Yeah, everyone had talked about, March of Meyer in years past, and can he kind of start off hot and not wait till March? Consistency would be nice. The Devils are going to need contributions from everyone, not just the big dogs, but, hopefully the bottom 6 is more productive as well. And we'll see. But there's certainly, I'm going to have a bunch of videos in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to have, I'll probably start doing more like season predictions and storylines and kind of more on ice things as we get closer to September. But I want to have some more guests on throughout the summer. And there's a lot of interesting line combinations with this current roster. Sheldon Keefe certainly has a lot of flexibility here at the moment. Patterson Plank Road. Oh yeah, my major gripe about this, I guess this was a gripe. My major gripe about this team is the inability to finish good scoring opportunities. Absolutely. Justin Smith, Keefe has to be willing to bench players for stupid giveaways. I don't know if that's in his DNA. A lot of people have mentioned similar things in the past. I see both sides of it. I do think sometimes it's warranted, but I think sometimes it's a good way to lose guys. It's definitely a slippery slope. Matty Ice, how many times did we not clear the zone on penalty kills or when the other team applied significant pressure for a long period of time, clear the puck? Yeah, easier said than done, but there has been many a sequence last season, whether it was even strength or on the power play, where the Devils just got pinned in the D zone and just could not get the puck out. There was times when even at even strength, it looked like a power play because the Devils, inability to clear the zone, weak clearing attempts up the middle that the defenseman knocks down and keeps the play alive, keeps it in the zone. Got to get better at clearing pucks as well. Joseph, what do you think the lines will be? Personally, I don't know about where Cody will place. He did well towards the end of the year. So as a third line center, it may be good or a bad role with Evan and Grits. I started tinkering with this a little bit. That'll be its own video closer to the season. There'll be a bunch of things like that. I'll have like a predictions video. I'll have like a potential line combinations. All these things will be coming out in the next few weeks for sure. Bobby, are you going to be doing division predictions? That'll be a solid video series. Also, hot take: Keith wins, Jack Adams. Yeah, I just mentioned that will be part of the video is a little bit closer to September. Justin Smith, clear the puck and block shots is how you win games. Absolutely. I love block shots and hits. Two of the most underrated stats in the game, in my opinion. Jason, no, too many times the Devils get caved inside their own zone. That's from bad wall play and sloppy passing. Yeah, there was plenty of times last year where you're like, oh my God, like how are they getting dominated like this? And it happens. But you just got to hope that, like I mentioned earlier, a few of these things go their way in the new season. And one of them obviously being health. But then if you see a little uptick from Timo Meier, maybe a little one from Jesper Bratt, Jack stays healthy. There's a lot, if some of these things go the right way, all of them working together, I do think this team can surprise some people, but they're going to have to stay healthy and they're going to have to grind. This league is not easy. And, any team could beat any other team on any given night. No one's just giving away victories. And you guys have seen it with this Devils team in the past few years, where even when they were playing well, they would get beat by, some of the basement dwellers. And you're like, well, what the hell happened here? But that's just the parity of the league. Bad teams could beat good teams. Titus Dream 12. Timo is a career 10.8 shooting percentage. He took his most shots as a Devil last season at 264 and had an 8.9 shooting percentage. If he returns to average, he is scoring 30 goals. Yeah, I mean, listen. I think 60 points, however you could get it, is a win for Timo, especially if he's not getting power play one time, folks. You have to understand, all of the premier players in this league that are putting up these juicy stat lines, they're all getting significant power play one time. If Timo Meier is not getting that, you can't expect these lofty point predictions to come true. Now, again, for me, if Timo hits 60, whether it's 30 and 30 goals, 30 assists, or if he even does 25 goals, 35 assists, however you got to get there, I think 60 points plus all of the other stuff that he does would be a massive, massive win. Now, does he get to 60 points this year? I don't know. I think if he gets any sort of power play time, it's definitely possible. But there's a lot of competition for power play time, obviously. We have a lot of skilled guys that command power play time. Bobby says, if Keith wins a Jack Adams, I want that tax photo. What is a tax photo? Joseph, hot take, Devils make third round in the playoffs and Mantha and Nico tuck 35. Wow, that is a bold one. So Joseph, you're predicting Devils make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and Mantha and Nico both get 35 goals? Justin Smith says, Lord Stanley needs to come back to New Jersey before I die. I've been saying that same thing for at least a few years now, which is crazy to think about. When I was a young man watching that glorious 2003 Cup run and watching them win it in Game 7, I never would have thought that 23 years after that night, we would still be talking about just trying to become relevant. Never mind winning another cup. We'll see. Kberg 114 says, is Alan Dawes or Riddick going to make big saves for you? I would say yes. I do think Nico Dawes has the potential to be a legitimate starter in this league. He's never really been given the opportunity, and he's going to get it this season, and we're going to really see what he's made of. I know the organization has been fairly high on him for a while, and he didn't get his proper kind of opportunity because of the way the Jake Allen thing played out last year. I don't think anyone anticipated Jake Allen signing that extremely team-friendly $1.8 million a year deal for 5 years, and so he was blocked. With Allen and Markey in place, there was really no room for Nico Dawes to get his real chance, but he's going to get it now. Jacob Markstrom is no longer here, and it is going to be entirely on Nico Dawes to dictate his future. Oh, the Taz photo. Okay. Justin, Devils need to go down fighting, not whimpering. Titus Dream, we have too much talent to not be in the playoffs. This will be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be reporting every home game. I will go to a decent amount of road games. Some of you were asking in the comments in the past few weeks, the post game show will return. The post-game show will be live on Speaking of the Devils. Very similar to the old post-game show that many of you grew accustomed to. That will be returning. Jason says, come on, big save, Dave. Joseph says, question, did we give Nico too big of a contract? I believe it's 11.5 through 6 years. No, absolutely not. Nico, in fact, left a little meat on the bone. Not a ton, but he did leave some meat on the bone with that deal. It was a 5-year, $58.5 million extension. So it's an AAV of 11.7. When you see, Leo Carlson got $18 million a year. I mean, I think that really shows that the Nico deal is truly a bargain. Carlson got $18 million. Nico signed for under 12. Jason, no, the Devils played with absolutely no fight last year. It's like they were going through the motions. It did seem like that on many nights. It was discouraging. You never want to watch a team and think that they gave up. But on many nights, I agree with you, Snow. It just seemed like they just completely lost any sort of competitive fire. And then especially at the end, like once they were out of it, some of those outings were tragedies. Justin Smith, we were spoiled in the 90s, Ace. What happened to those days? 3 cups and Niners missed those days. Yeah, I mean, listen. We were watching all-time greats all playing for the Devils simultaneously. I mean, it was special back then, and I had an appreciation for it, and I knew that we were watching greatness that likely we would never see again. But to have the great Martin Brodeur, Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayer, all NHL legends, all-time greats, first ballot Hall of Famers, to have all 3 of those guys in their primes and in some cases before and after, but to have all 3 of those guys as mainstays for all of those years, I mean, it's truly a special thing. And they got 3 cups to show for it. And it's a damn shame it wasn't 4. That 2001 team, that one's always going to haunt. That was a great team. And they blew it up 3-2 in the Cup Finals against the Avs at home for Game 6 with a chance to skate the Cup. They laid an egg and then they lost Game 7. But those 3 guys together is one of the best trios you could kind of look up throughout NHL history. Jason, they need to have a chip on their shoulder. Absolutely. They need to play pissed off. They need to hate losing. I do think Brett Pesce is one of those guys that kind of fits that bill. If you watch another video, that was another video from the past few weeks or so. I did a shorter interview with Brett Pesce, and he talked about kind of what went wrong last year and his outlook for the new season. And he talks about, guys needing to hate to lose and kind of playing angry as a result of what happened last season. Rico Napoleon, people lately get 2 or 3 minutes power play and short both top defense and top 3 D did and top 2 forward celebrating. Bedardi's on my top 2, but he should have been top 2. McDavid and Drive both. Whoa. There's a lot there. I'm trying to figure this out. People lately get 2 or 3 minutes power play. Yeah, I don't know. That one's kind of confused me. But Celebrini and McDavid, obviously, phenomenal talents. K-Rad says, for what he does, it's a bargain, Joseph. Yeah, Nico, definitely a bargain. Great signing by Sonny Maeda. Bobby says, I was watching THG redraft of what? Rico Napoleon. Nico is good. How much it's going up? It's bad right now. 2 or 3 don't all guys, but they will. I don't know what that means either. Backs and Racks, what move do you think Sonny will do before the season starts, if any? It's hard to say. I do think he's monitoring the Quinn Hughes situation. Like I said before, he's not going to get caught unprepared like his predecessor. And so if Quinn signs the extension, I think then that would at least put the Devils back in exploratory mode. I do think they've probably pumped the brakes right now while they wait to see how that situation plays out. But I'm not expecting anything major. I do think a forward or 2 or a defenseman or 2 could be shipped out just because when you look at the guys under contract, there's a lot of extra pieces. Titus Dream, they stopped believing in themselves after the injuries in the Dilly 1000 collapse. They looked checked out till post-Olympic break. Man, that game was so sad. That guy was a Voronkov cheap shot at Dylan. He kind of wasn't ready, and he just kind of popped him. That was just terrible. Jason says, Pesci's always hurt, man. He needs to stay on the ice. That's because he's a throwback warrior, and he can't help it. The man eats pucks 24/7. Just is shot blocking animal. K-Rads, he redrafted 2019. Jack went first. In 2017, I think he took Nico's 6th. I'm assuming he had Cale Makar number 1. Justin Smith, they have to want to win. They haven't had that in a long time. I think they want to win, but wanting to win and extremely hating to lose, I think, are two different things. Rico Napoleon says, I'm drunk. You guys care. I'm probably not watching when it's that much. Haven't bought games or fights or sports sells top 2. That's what I was saying. Money going, players are going on. I don't know. I guess you're just trying to say because the cap's going up, don't overplay. Yeah, Makar went number 1. Anyone have anything else before I get out of here? Anyone have any off-season suggestions? I always like the suggestions. Once in a while, someone throws out a good one. Any specifics? I have a lot of stuff in the works, obviously. As always, I'm always working on things behind the scenes. I got some interesting off-season videos coming, some guests. But is there anything else you guys have in mind that you would like to see before the season starts? Let me know in the comments. Titus Dream, every Devils player had depressed numbers last season. It's the quality of line mates and matchups. Healthy, expect 20% better from every player. That would be something. 20% better from every player would firmly make this team much better than they were last year, obviously. But we will see. Health goes a long way. Mantha and Rodriguez in the mix, I think, are going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on. If Mantha can really develop chemistry with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, that could be a dynamic line. Backs and racks, I still worry Devils don't have a true fighter. All 3 cup-winning teams had a brawler. Definitely a different league. I don't know that, the league has changed so much that there is no true like enforcer only types. Or I mean, maybe there's a few, but they're certainly an endangered species well on their way to becoming fully extinct. There's tough guys in the league and guys that can fight, but you have to be able to do more than just fight to be able to play in the league today. 2026, there is no room for just like pure goonery. You need to be able to play hockey, and then if you could fight as well, then that's kind of another feather in your cap and a bonus. But those guys exist too. I mean, listen, the Devils have a little bit of it, but I agree when it comes down to the shenanigans and you need someone to really lay down the law. Dylan and Kovacevic are really it. Up front, you don't have much. Jason said, I love that Pesci likes to block pucks, but he's only played 2 full seasons. That's not good. I mean, that's a byproduct of the warrior game that he plays. Maddie says, I would like to see more interviews with interviews of former Devils players to get their opinion of cut off. Bobby, THD did a 2020 redraft and had us taking Lundell. Is that supposed to be Lafreniere and Chinikov? Can you imagine us with Nico, Jack, Lundell, and I don't know, Glass as our centers? Satire Salesman says, thanks for the stream, Ace. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Rico Napoleon, make vids you want, bro. Nothing is about us. We will hate, talk bad about, and the ones that do good, we just want them to do good. I mean, it's the off season. It's tough. Titus Dream says, should do a deconstructing disaster video covering the 25-26 season and the main events that led to the fall. Quinn trade, Chicago cut, Bratt, Ovi hit, Dilly 1000, etc. I hate dwelling on the negativity. Like that season's done with. We all know all the different things that happen, but I'm looking more towards, I guess, videos, just completely random Devils videos, maybe, or ones pertaining to next season. Matty Ice, I'd like to see more interviews of former Devils players to get their opinions of the current state of the Devils and what they can improve on. Yeah, I think that's an interesting, conversation. I mentioned earlier my interview with Mike Rupp was one of my favorite ones in quite some time. Obviously, Mike Rupp, Stanley Cup Game 7 hero for the New Jersey Devils. You could catch him on the Tri-State Hockey Podcast as well as NHL Network. And obviously, because he is that dual, former player with that level of insight, plus the analyst work that he does. Great guest. I'll post that link in the chat right now. If you haven't seen that, check out the Mike Rupp interview. We talked about a lot of great stuff. Always great talking to Mike Rupp. Justin Smith says you have to have grit to win a cup. Sorry, I've got fat thumbs. Get Dano. I'm sure he'd definitely come on. Dano still wants to get on the ice and beat people up. Dano, you'll see something with Dano eventually. That one has to be special. LaFerriere on the king. Okay. The draft was stacked and we got bumps from it. I mean, listen, that's one of the many things. And not to keep beating a dead horse, but the drafting during the Tom Fitzgerald era was brutal. Absolutely brutal stuff. And one of the many reasons why I believe he lasted, well, one of the reasons he should have been fired sooner than he was, but eventually, they made the difficult decision to get rid of him and brought on Sonny Maeda. But the drafting is pretty bad. I mean, you could look at it, the Holtz pick, Stillman, just a lot of miscues. We'll see what happens with Salayev. I thought a lot of those higher picks should have been traded for win now help. They were not, but here we are. We will see what Sonny could do with what he's inherited. But so far, I would say it's pretty encouraging. Rico Napoleon, so glad I found you again. You're my top one dude I listen to. Appreciate you, Rico. Thank you. Titus Dream, it's more of a time capsule. Should do one for each season going forward. Maybe. Bobby, your interview with Rupp was absolute class. More of those would be great, like with Dano or Stevens or Marty. No, for sure. I always like hearing from those guys about the current team. Dano and Marty, obviously a little more connected than Stevens. I don't know how much Stevens follows the current game, but a career retrospective with all of those guys would really be something I'd be interested in. I mean, any one of those guys I could talk to for days, like the glory year players, and especially specifically those three special players in Devils history. Jason Snow says if Fitz actually could draft, who knows where this team would be? Yeah, I mean, you look at all those misfires, even if you hit on half of them, the team could look dramatically different right now. For sure. Yeah, all of his first round picks have basically sucked. Justin Smith, I don't think Fitzgerald knew how to run a hockey team. What gave you that impression? I'm curious. Listen, he probably was a nice guy, and that probably played a part in him sticking around for as long as he did. But in the end, based on the evidence we saw, it just seemed like he was in way over his head, and he just couldn't react in season and make moves when they were so desperately needed. Bobby Whitting, I loved what Rupp had to say about role players or bottom six guys and their role and time on the ice. He'd be a great coach. Yeah, it certainly would be interesting to see what becomes of Mike Rupp. I think he could be. We briefly talked about that too. He was talking about more like specialized coaching at the NHL level for guys with different roles. It was an interesting point. I think he does like the analyst stuff, but who knows? Maybe Mike Rupp will find himself in some sort of coaching capacity with a team. Titus Dream says that Chase Stillman pick still hurts. It really does, man. And I was so high on him at one point too. There was that clip. I think it was during the OHL playoffs where on one sequence he absolutely crushed a guy with a hit and like knocked the guy out. And then one of the guy's teammates came over to fight him. And then he beat the crap out of the guy that came over to fight him. And then you saw the next like little montage, it cut. And it was both of the guys, the guy that he hit with the body check and the guy that he fought, both going down the tunnel to get repairs. It was amazing. I was like, oh, this kid's got it. But he just never panned out. RL Sin, if you just hit on the second overall period, imagine Cutter, Gauthier on New Jersey. Yeah, that was a big one too. I mean, listen, we'll see what becomes of the picks. Obviously, the Devils pick Shimo Nemitz in that spot, and Sonny just traded him a couple months ago or whenever it was for the 2 first rounders in the second. We will see what becomes of those picks. I'd have to imagine some of those will be dealt in a subsequent deal, but I don't know. Matty Ice 30, we need to do a live stream of Ace versus Colin White in a drinking competition and talk about the current state of the Devils. Oh boy, who wins that one? Oof. In my younger days, I think I may have been able to give Whitey a run for his money, but I think right now he would probably he would probably get me. I haven't been drinking nearly as much, and so my tolerance is um probably way down. So he would. Colin White's a beast. Shout out to Colin White. I've been trying to get him as a guest for, I don't know, probably 3 years now. And he always says, I'll do it, I'll do it. And then when it comes down to it, he just doesn't want to do it. But I'm hoping to finally crack him soon. But Whitey would be a great guest. But I've heard from a lot of his teammates that typically, like, that's not him. Like, he doesn't really like that. But when you're in person talking to him, I've had lengthy conversations with him in person, and his stories are killer. He tells amazing stories. But for whatever reason, when it comes to, oh, Snow, you're getting it, Snow. Don't worry. I still got enough in the tank to beat you, Snow. Colin White's a different animal, but Jay Snow, you're the 151's coming out. And Whitey tells the best stories in person, but for whatever reason, when it comes to, like, filming it or like, I'm getting the runaround. But Whitey, I'm coming for you. You're not escaping me. It's gonna happen, Whitey. Bobby says, fill me in. What's wrong with the Stillman pick? I mean, really? Jay Snow says, even though Johnny Lazarus is a Rangers fan, I think he'd be a good guest. That could be an interesting one. Hokage 1981. Hi, Ace. Hope you're doing well. Remember to hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you. I mean, hit the thumbs up. Everyone getting close to the season. Yeah, we're under a month away from the first rookie game against the Islanders. I'm very curious to see what those or what that roster is going to look like. But I think we're going to get a look at a lot of the young guys that many of you are excited about. Anyone got anything else? It's getting late. I'm an old man. Shout out to everybody for coming out in the dog days. Summertime nonsense. It is crazy, though. Quinn Hughes, no extension. It's about to be August 17th. Wild stuff. Would have never thought we'd be here. I'm at 50% right now, folks. I'm not trying to get you all excited, but I'm going at that Minnesota extension probability at about 50% right now. And it's going down by the week. Anyone? Jason said, I want hockey, but don't want summer to end. I'm completely with you. I'm a summer kid. Absolutely love the summer. Obviously miss hockey, but the summer is just, Jersey summers are incredible. For anyone who has been in New Jersey in the summer or grew up in New Jersey, Jersey summers are something special, truly special. Something that, Quinn Hughes is enjoying as well. Maybe he'll enjoy Jersey falls and winters too. I don't know, but Jersey summer is amazing. I always get a little sad at the end of the summer. The only saving grace for me personally is the start of hockey season. But yeah, summer seems to go by faster every season, every year. The summer just goes by. Boop! It seemed like just yesterday it was Memorial Day. In some ways, it seems like just yesterday the season ended. I mean, I was at that pathetic performance by the Devils in the last game of the season at Boston where they just got stomped. And that was over 4 months ago or 4 months ago. That seems like just yesterday in many ways. Maddie Ice says, I challenge you to a drinking competition. Oh boy, it looks like a lot of you are trying to step up. I'm gonna have to practice a little bit. I'm rusty. K-Rad's the super, another 5 just because. Appreciate you, K-Rads. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Justin Smith, 90% chance Quinn Hughes is a Devil before this season ends. That's a pretty high percentage. You're saying 90% before the season ends. So does that mean you think he's going to get traded to the Devils at the deadline or at some point during the season? Titus Dream, I just don't see it happening. I had a video on my feed with Wild content creator who had Garen on, and his answers shed a lot of light without saying anything overt. I mean, if you're talking about the clips that have been out there, I don't know that they really said much. Patterson Plank Road. I grew up in NJ, live in North Carolina. I despise summer. Bring on the cooler temps and lower humidity in hockey. The summer's great. I don't know how you can't like the summer. The beach, the barbecues, it's the best. It's the absolute best. Jersey summers are phenomenal. Jason said this summer has been cheeks. The weather has sucked. There's been a lot of rain. And back to my power outage earlier, I feel like I lose power once a week. I'm constantly resetting the clocks on like my microwave and the oven, like, the digital clock. I feel like I think there was one time I just got so fed up with it. I was like, oh, the power's going to go out again any day now. I'm not even resetting it. And then it did actually happen a couple days later. But yeah, I don't know. All these friggin' thunderstorms, whatever the hell, that was the worst. The worst one earlier, obviously bad timing, and we lost connection for a few minutes there. Shout out to everybody that stayed while my whole entire system rebooted and the cameras got to reread. Total nightmare. But yeah, you'll never convince me the summer's not good. K-Rad says I like the idea of summer more than the actual summer. Oh, I love the actual summer. The shore, the bars, the beach. I'm with you, Snow. I'm with you. Matty Ice said he also hates the summer. Bring on the cold weather. Justin says I think he gets traded. It's possible. Patterson Plank Road, we have had heat indexes above 105 for 5 days straight enough. Have we? Hasn't felt that hot. I mean, I had this conversation with my buddy recently. I feel like when I was a kid, almost every single day in the summer, it was in the 90s. I could be wrong, but I might have to research this. It felt like every day was in the 90s, whereas this summer, like there was tons of days that were not in the 90s, like tons. 80s, probably a few 70s mixed in there. Titus Dream, Garen said he doesn't check in with players on contracts. He doesn't want them to feel a certain way. He also said it was a term issue and he was working on it. That means nothing to me, Titus. At this point, the only thing I need to know is that it's August 16th and there's no extension. I don't care what anyone says at this point. You should find time and rewatch THG redraft of 2020. Maybe I'll check it out. Jason O says, give me all the heat. K-Rads likes all that too, but I like the fall more. Alexander Price, Lake Apacon is the go-to in the summer. I haven't been there in a while. I wish we played hockey right now. Pre-gaming outside of Devils games without freezing. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you guys could be drinking some ice-cold beers on Championship Plaza into May. May of 27. Wouldn't that be something? For all of you fine folks to be assembled on Championship Plaza outside of the Rock, awaiting to go into Prudential Center for a New Jersey Devils Eastern Conference Finals game in May. Late May. Mid-May, late May. Conference Finals, ice-cold, frothy beers on Championship Plaza. Jason said, I agree with you. It felt like every day was 90 and sunny. I think it was. And the occasional rainy day. Bacchanal Brunch. Ace, have you looked into getting an uninterruptible power supply? You can plug your computer into it, and if the power goes out, you'll have like 2 hours. I honestly never even knew this was a thing. Hold on. I'm going to look this up now. I'm very intrigued, and I might be ordering this tomorrow. Oh, shit. Almost knocked my coffee over. All right, I'm going to look into this. Thank you, Bacchanal. Thank you for the suggestion. I honestly didn't even know that such a thing existed. So essentially, this is like in the event of a power outage, saves open files and hibernates the PC to increase the runtime. All right, I'm gonna have to go talk. I have a local tech place that I go. This thing looks like a serious. I'm looking at one right now. It looks like a serious. It looks like a surge protector, but on steroids. There's like a little digital dial on it. I'm gonna look into this because yeah, that is super annoying. So thank you for the suggestion, Bacchanal. If this in fact will prevent me from crashing during a power outage, then I will get it because PSE&G sucks. K-Rad's Devils need to just get into the dance. They have the talent to. Missing the playoffs this season would be the travesty of travesties. I can't see it happening, but man, it would be brutal. Future Man 80, Garen would give Quinn anything he wants. The nonsense about negotiations causing the delay is BS. Garen can't give Quinn what he wants because Quinn wants to play with his brothers. And honestly, again, I'm not trying to gas people up and give you false hopes, but it just certainly seems like that's the case. Jim Rutherford told the entire planet that in April of 2025. I can't imagine anything has changed. And despite all of the spin campaigns and whatever else people have said publicly, reporters, fans, whatever it is, that just could be the issue. Could very well maybe he wants to play with his brothers. He doesn't want to wait, and that's it. And if that's the case, Quinn Hughes will be a Devil on July 1st, 2027 or sooner. It's not a matter of if, it would become a matter of when. I do feel bad for whoever comes out on the losing side of this troll battle, though, because the trolling after either Quinn gets dealt or signs an extension, this will be all-time levels of trolling either way. It will be, I'll probably have to just not be on social media for a few weeks because the back and forth and the amount of nonsense that would occur would be brutal. Absolutely brutal. But yeah, I mean, this is summer 26 will forever be remembered as the Quinn Hughes saga. So I guess that's why the Devils power play sucks. SJ, what's going on? You're a little late. This started a while ago. We had a blackout. I had a power outage. Thank you, PSENG. Future Man 80, the easiest way to play with his brothers is now, and I think the whole Hughes family realizes this. Yeah, it certainly is the reality, right? Is Cross Turn still in here? Is it Cross Turn? Who had asked me about the cards earlier? If you're still in here, I'll bust them out before I get off of here. I don't know if you're still in here. I think it's Cross Turn. Oh my God. I messed up and scrolled all the way to the top here. We're getting closer, kids. Less than a month away. First rookie game. Devils Islanders. SJ says, does Quinn want to play with his brothers or not? This is the best time to do it. It's definitely the best time to do it. I mean, that's undeniable, right? No time like the present. And present meaning if he wanted to, at the latest, July 1, 2027. Oh, K-Rads. Someone earlier was asking me about hockey cards. I don't know if they're still in here. I was going to bust out some of the higher end cards I had from when I was a kid, but if Cross Turn's not in here, I'm not really motivated that much to go do that right now. The person who had asked about it's probably not in here any longer. Anything else before I get out of here? Man, it is the summer ending is depressing though. Patterson Plank Road. This question may have been asked and answered before, but will there be an in-game chat for us Devils fans? Yeah, so there will be a post game live show after every game this year, and it will be posted before the game starts. So if you so choose to, last season there was always some people in the live chat during the game. And if you choose to partake in that will be there as well this upcoming season. So you'll see each game, there'll be a post-game show, post-game show posted usually the morning of the game. And that's open from when it goes live, throughout when I actually come on and do the actual show. So there's always people in the chat during the game for sure. Any good new movies out? I don't got any new movies. Any shows? My sister-in-law told me to watch, was it Ransom Canyon? Anyone know anything about that? I haven't started it. Future Man 80, are Wild fans going to start to finally worry if Quinn isn't signed by the start of the season? They are oddly confident right now. Maybe I have PTSD from Parisi, but I'd be pooping my pants. I don't know if some of them are truly delusional and that they don't think they have anything to worry about, or if this is just kind of, them somewhat masking their level of anxiety about it. But I'd imagine any logical Wild fans at the moment are certainly like, what is going on? SJ says, wait 3 years makes no sense. Jack won't leave Luke. I think at that point, I said this before, could they potentially facilitate a trade? Yes, but that's just another step in multiple steps for this all to happen. Like, clearly the path of least resistance and the most straight line way for all three of them to play together is clearly Quinn coming to the Devils on July 1st, 2027 in free agency, if not sooner. That is clearly the easiest way for this to happen and the most expeditious way for it to happen. And so it certainly seems sensical. It certainly seems sensical. Bobby says, will Command be playing in the rookie game? What about Salive or Van Hannon? I don't think Command or Van Hannon would. I would expect Salive to be. I don't think the other two will. Devils Holic says you should start a Discord if you haven't yet. I'm not really up on that. One of our regulars here has talked about it with me, and maybe I will talk to Amagi about that. I don't know. Is there really isn't there a bunch of these already? I'll look into it and I'll talk to Amagi. He's talked to me about it for quite some time. New season of Tires is out. What is Tires? Justin, didn't see your friend deliver all that food to you this time. No, I gotta reel it in. No more poison for me. On a personal note, after my feasting during my Olympic trip in Italy, I never fully reeled it in when I got home. I was eating pretty healthy before the Olympics. Then I went to Italy and stuffed my face, as many of you saw. And then I just continued to stuff my face when I came back to the United States. And it's I like food. I really do. SJ says they think Quinn owes them because they traded the farm. Yeah, that's nonsense. And I think Arthur Staple, the Islanders reporter on Tri-State Hockey Podcast with Mike Rupp and Johnny Lazarus, had a clip that was going around, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, where he kind of said that whole notion is ridiculous, which obviously it is. The fact that people would be counting on Quinn Hughes to sign an extension because of what the Wild gave up to get him is pretty ridiculous. I mean, but it was funny to see kind of an outside perspective say that. Tires is on Netflix with Shane Gillis. Is it any good? I haven't watched much TV in a long time. I'm not going to lie. I don't have much time to. But I would like to maybe watch a movie. I'll probably fall asleep. Let's be real. I typically fall asleep as soon as I go in my bed. That's been my whole life. Like, I can watch TV on the couch and stuff. If I'm laying down in my bed watching TV, even if it's the middle of the day, doesn't usually work well. I usually just pass out pretty quickly. Closing time. Any final remarks from anybody? August 16th, 35 minutes away from August 17th. Still no extension, but hopefully we see the jersey soon. I'll be obviously doing a video on that when it gets revealed. Very exciting to see where they go with it. The black starter is just beautiful. Would love to see something just very close to that. Titus Dream, I still think the owner comment after the draft was the red flag. It kind of surprised me. I mean, I didn't think that he would be so bold with his statements if it was all like BS. I mean, and who knows, right? There's still a good chance. There still is a chance that he signs with the Wild, and everyone's like, "What the hell was all all that drama was for nothing?" But Craig Leopold, Wild owner, I mean, he was pretty emphatic that they're going to sign him, and it's only a matter of ironing out the details. And here we are. I think he said that like over 2 months ago. That may have been early June. Alexander Price says the Devils will be good this year. Ace will lose all the pounds from the Olympic trio, and beer and gas will get cheaper. That would be something. That would certainly be something. Future man, zero chance Guerin is trading Quinn. He's going to walk him to free agency in hopes of changing. What's that last word? Hopes of changing something. You really think he's going to just changing his mind? You really think he's going to just hold on to him and into the playoffs and lose him for nothing? Oof. That would be brutal. Bobby, will we be doing a co-stream with Austin again? Guy is funny, although terrible at pronouncing names. Austin's the man. I don't know in terms of maybe I'll have, I don't know. I got to see. I know you guys like seeing other people on here. SJ, it was a risky bet by Billy, but Quinn left Vancouver to play with the Devils, but Fitz ruined it. Oh, brutal. Devils Holic, what's going on? He says, I think the Rangers will make the playoffs this year. No chance for the Islanders. I can never say no chance when you have a goalie like Sorokin. Like, the Islanders were in a great spot most of the year, and then they fizzled out towards the end. So that one's tough. I mean, Sorokin is a great goalie, and Schaefer is a phenom. So Guerin definitely would. That would certainly be gutsy. Gutsy. Maybe some people would call it foolish, but wow, that's like cup or bust. K-Rat said you can get a puppet and do a ventriloquist act. That'd be a nifty guess. I definitely don't have ventriloquist skills. Patterson Plank Road. Of course, Wild owners have to say they will sign Quinn Hughes. Does anyone expect them not to say this? I mean, there's definitely a more diplomatic way to answer the question than he did. You could be like, we're working on it. We're optimistic. But he straight up was like, we're signing him. It's only a matter of whether we get him for the 3, he wants 3 years. And he went into great detail. Like, none of that was necessary. And because of the level of detail he went into, in conjunction with everything else that kind of happened beforehand, where I was convinced it was going to happen anyway, when he said that, I was like, it's definitely happening. Like, it's definitely happening. But it was just him going out there, on his own, going crazy. Future man, do you think if Quinn walks for nothing, Guerin could be fired? It's a possibility, and I'm sure that is something that he probably will discuss with ownership if it comes to that. Like, beforehand, he could probably say, look, we could either keep Quinn and we could try to win this cup, and when he doesn't resign here, we lose him for nothing, or I could recoup as many assets as possible and trade him now. I'd imagine for a decision of that caliber, ownership would be involved. And so if the Wild did hold on to him and not win a cup and then lose him for nothing, I would have to believe in that scenario that the ownership signed up for that and kind of co-signed that gamble decision. And so I don't know. I don't think it would be the end of them. Would you? The question is, I guess, would you rather have a super conservative GM that never does anything, or would you rather have a guy that pushes his chips all in, even if it culminates in something like what Billy Guerin did with Quinn, give up all those pieces and then eventually lose them for nothing? Like, what would you rather have? I think you'd get people on both sides of the fence with that one, but you got to give to get, and he took a shot. But if they hold on to him and then lose him for nothing, that'd be crazy. I know there'd definitely be a huge portion of their fan base that would be outraged, but there'd probably be some people that may defend it. I guess it all comes down to, how legitimate do the Wild look in the regular season leading up towards the deadline? If they look like a juggernaut, I think there would be outrage if they did trade them. Imagine if the Wild are lingering near the top of the league. Again, hypothetically, I'm not predicting that to happen, but let's just say they were up there in the standings and you're coming towards the deadline and there's no extension. Do you trade them at that point? I mean, there'd be people that would be complaining about that. There is no win with professional sports, obviously, and fan bases. No one's ever, 100% on the same page. So you'll have people with differing opinions, but it'll certainly be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. All right, but I think that's it. That's it. I think that's it. Got a bunch of stuff in the works. Appreciate you all for coming out. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on X. Pinned at the top of the chat. Sign up for nj.com. Going to be getting tons of Devils articles, stories throughout the season. Subscribe to this channel if you're not subscribed. I mean, if you're not subscribed, what are we even talking about? Put on the notifications, all that stuff. And that's it. I still have to figure out why the screen is backwards. It's super bizarre. It really threw me off the whole time. Everything's backwards. But that's it. Back soon. Lots of stuff in the works as always. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends. I'm out of here.